What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. We got a pretty long one today, maybe. Today we're gonna cover annotations, right? And this isn't something that we cover it and then we just kind of forget about it and move on. This is something that we're gonna do with almost every text that we read, whether it's a novel, whether it's just like a short text that we're working on for that week. Annotations are um, something that they keep coming up there. They come up every weekly things, right? So it's important right from the beginning to get some practice with them and to understand what I mean when I say annotate a text. So I'm jumping over to Schoology, and I'm just gonna pull from the weekly plan I send you guys, which has everything we need. So I'm going to the remote learning plans. There we go. And then this week, August 24th. And whenever you guys are like looking up resources, always just pull them from here. I'm going to try to put everything you guys need right on here. So we're on Wednesday. So we have a few things, right? Annotation PowerPoint, annotation resource, the articles, which I'm not going to read. I don't want you guys to watch a video where I'm just reading a text. You know what I mean? I'll let you guys read that yourselves. I'll talk about it in this, but I'm not going to waste your time reading it for you. I'll let you guys do that on your own. And then the annotation template. So PowerPoint, we're going to go through that together, and it's going to be on here for you guys to review. The resource is just something that, if you could print it out, it'd be really helpful, but just have by your side to see how to start these annotations, right? The articles, that's what we're going to be reading and then annotating. And then the annotation template, that's the, if you're thinking about what's the thing that I have to turn in, that's it, okay? And I want that today. If you can get it to me, turn it in today on Wednesday. It shouldn't take you guys too long. Start off with the PowerPoint. All right, cool. Opened up in its own window. So for this, there's a lot to this and we're not gonna cover all of it. Okay, we're only gonna cover a little bit of it. So annotation notes, which I'm gonna skip to. Annotation, I'm gonna leave this up here, and then I'm just gonna talk about what I mean when I talk about annotation. So anytime you guys read a text, you annotate it. Every text that you've read in your lives, whether it's been at home, at school, with a different activity, you've annotated it mentally without realizing what you're doing. Anytime you read a text, whether it's nonfiction, whether it's fiction, whether it's like a recipe, if you're following a recipe, you annotate it, right? You think about how that text relates to your life. That's all annotation is you taking a text and then making connections to it. What we do when we annotate text now, what we'll start doing is you're taking what happens in your head when you annotate things and just putting it down on paper, okay? So I might read any text and it makes me think of something that happened in my personal life, right? If I were to write that down, that thought that I have, that's an annotation. With writing it down and explicitly putting into words what these connections are, it just helps you get a way better understanding of the text. You're not expected to read a text and memorize it, but just by making these connections, it makes the information, that text, stick in your head so much better, just verbalizing it and putting it into words. So these are the things that we'll talk about with annotations, okay? What I understand right now in regards to the text that you're reading, personal experiences that I am reminded of. Might be something that happened to you, might be something that happened to a family member, might be something that you read about that happened to somebody else. That's a personal experience, okay? Visual or sensory images I'm experiencing as I read. So anytime you read something and you get a mental picture in your head, you might think of it. Now I'm asking you to describe it. Okay, and that's what an annotation is. And that should happen, you know, a lot of times when you're reading text, is you're just picturing what's happening, picturing the scene, picturing what the author is describing, and just having that happen in your head. Again, it's a really natural thing that everybody does and that you've done. But with annotations, we're actually just writing that down. Questions or wonderings that pop into my head. You might be questioning what the author's purpose is for saying what they're saying. I do that a ton. You know, when I'm reading news articles, I'm saying, okay, what's their purpose in the facts that they're giving? What's their bias? Maybe maybe if it's a fictional thing, you're wondering what's going to happen and how's this going to turn out. Those are annotations. Those are things that, again, we should all be thinking about anytime we read a text, and that do happen. Predictions about what might happen next. Parts that seem especially important, interesting, or well written. If the author takes time to describe something in great detail, it's probably important to them. It's probably important to the text too. Then what I think the purpose is, again, the purpose being, why did the author write the text? Understanding that can help you with these annotations. You'll recognize that these topics are restatements of the 7 comprehension strategies. So these are things from like 6th and 7th grade that you've probably you know, been exposed to before, but maybe you don't have to memorize, which is fine. Monitoring, visualizing, questioning, inferring, determining importance, and then synthesizing. And disregard this minimum 2 annotations per section. So when it comes to actual annotations, what you guys will have to do, it's going to be these things, okay? These are your categories. You have monitoring, clarifying, and I'm not going to read these descriptions to you guys. I'll let you do that on your own just to save you guys time. Monitoring, clarifying, visualizing, kind of talk about just, you know, if they're describing something, you get that mental picture. Writing down that mental picture that you get, that's an annotation. Questioning, this is real quick. I will read this one. Preview the article, ask yourself questions before you begin reading, then revise questions. Maybe your question gets answered. Revise questions you might still have about the story after you read. Remember, your questions might begin with who, what, where, when, why. A lot of the starters for these annotations, there's sentence starters. I'm going to show you guys in the annotation resource. So really easy. Inferring, looking for clues in the words, photos. Think about what you already know about the topic. Figure out what the author doesn't directly tell you. If they don't directly tell you something, they're assuming that you already know it. Maybe it's common knowledge. Predicting, and think about what might happen next. Summarizing, decide what's important, include details that support important ideas, use your own words, and make them brief. So, annotation examples. This is going to be kind of crucial for you guys, which is glad you're going to have this PowerPoint to kind of keep referring back to. Ideally, if you guys were sitting in my classroom, I would give you this text, right? You know, it'd be some pages stapled together, and you would write your annotations directly on the text, right? That's the best way to do it. With you guys being remote, that gets a little bit difficult because I don't want you to have to take 12 photos of the text and then submit that to me. So you'll actually write your annotations on a separate sheet, and then you can just submit that to me, which I'll show you guys here in a little bit. These 2 texts, it's a longer text. It's like 4 pages long, not that bad. And then there's like just a 1-page text. They both have to do with phones, just in everyday lives. And they talk about etiquette, which is in regards to expectations and how you're supposed to act with the phone. You know, something I think about is, you know, when I was growing up, if I wanted to get a hold of somebody, I would just call them, right? Text messages weren't, you know, a big thing when I was in, you know, my first few years of high school. Nowadays, though, I just text everybody. You know, if I get a phone call from somebody, I just assume that it's an emergency. You know, like, I know it sounds silly, but whenever I get a phone call, I'm thinking in my head, okay, somebody died or some emergency happened, just because I'm so used to texting. And then, you know, if someone does call me, usually they text me first and say, hey, are you free? I'm going to call you or whatever. So that's like some examples of things that they're talking about. Obviously what they have in red Just imagine somebody just wrote this directly on the text. Here's the title. Is anything wrong with this picture? Our favorite devices could be making us rude. That's the author making a statement, right? You might have an opinion about that statement, right off the bat. That could be an annotation. You might push back against that statement and say, no, I don't think they are. Times is changing, something like that. That's an annotation. It's something that you might be thinking, but instead of just thinking it, go ahead and write it down, and that's an annotation. Here's what they say, title, and they say, I predict that there will be something about the way people behave in restaurants. I was at a restaurant with my friends, and a couple continued to text and play on their phones as their toddler screamed and threw a tantrum. That's something I've seen. What I like about this annotation is that they didn't just say, I predicted this will be about something, right? They gave you guys that context of exactly what happened to them, what they saw and how it affected them. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so back to that. Sorry about that. Yeah, again, with this annotation, this is an example of a really good annotation because they gave you all the background information that's necessary. A lot of times when people, they might underline a piece of text and say, this reminds me of something that happened at school. And then, that's it. That's their annotation. Me as somebody reading that, I'm wondering what happened. What happened? Give me some more information about that. Here's some more examples. And what I like about this is they're just underlining things in the text, which if you guys are able to print this, that's super helpful. They say 74% of Americans think that people are getting ruder. I guess it's like in their way they treat each other. And they say this looks important. Often people forget to read captions, diagrams, tables, picture explanations. It makes me wonder, were there different samples, groups of adults, rural, and that's a small town, city, etc. So I guess they're questioning about the people who say that they think people are being rude, where they live. Because I think that does make a difference. I think if you, I grew up in North St. Louis, so I'm kind of manners, etiquette, and things like that weren't as big of a deal in my household growing up. It was kind of like you just went out, and did your thing. But maybe to someone in a small town, those things might be a bigger deal. A couple other ones, they say the basic function of manners has remained the same. And they're making a connection, to their own lives. They're talking about this one. And they're just saying that's probably an important idea. Then they circled this. Manners serve to make the world a happier and more pleasant place to live. And they're making a connection to their personal life. Say, it is not only polite to use a turn signal when driving, but keeps us happier and safe. So that's just based on whoever wrote these annotations. That's based on their personal experience. Okay, it's an example of that. So again, the author's saying, they make that statement, manners make the world happier, nicer place, whatever. And whoever wrote the annotations is giving an example that you might have a different example of that, and that might be your annotation. I know for me as a teacher, it means a lot to me when a student walks into my classroom that they just say, hi, Mr. Mead, right? I think that to me is something that's just manners that I really appreciate. And that would be like my personal connection. So what you guys are going to do, and this is kind of what your sheet looks like. And this is printed, this slide that you're seeing right now, this is printed on your guys' recording sheet that you're going to get, okay? So what you'll do is for each annotation, you'll list the page number, and that's at the bottom. Here's 26. And just paragraph number. So just count the paragraphs on that page. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? I'm not going to count through all those. Annotation type. So something that you guys will see, and I will pull that up real quick here for your annotation resources. That this is going to be kind of crucial for you guys. There are different types of annotations, and I want you to use, you know, at least I think 6 of them is what I say. So connecting, that's one type of annotation. If you're having a hard time starting your annotation, use one of these sentence starters. Don't try to reinvent the wheel with this, okay? You know, it reminded me of, this makes me think of, and that's something in your life, right? And again, if you're saying something like this part reminded me of, don't just say remind me of something at softball, right? Be really specific and give me that context, okay? Explain it just so I know your annotation should be in complete sentences. You know, a few word annotation won't cut it. You will lose points for that. Questioning, pretty straightforward. You know, here's some sentence starters for that. Inferring just means that you're drawing conclusions, right? You're reading and getting information that the author isn't explicitly saying. They might give you a ton of reasons why manners are important. And you might infer that the author has good manners based on that. I don't think they could say that and have bad manners themselves. And then there's a couple sentence starters for that. You might say, you know, I figured out that the author, you can kind of maybe get their opinion too, that manners are important to them specifically. Summarizing, something important is, and again, think of summarizing, think of the main idea. When you get to the end of the text, think about what the author says at the beginning as well. What do you think their main point is? What point are they trying to get across? If you can kind of sum that up into one statement. Visualizing, that's pretty easy. I could picture blank. The image I see is, and I know, you know, he talked about the people in the restaurant. When I read that, I kind of picture the opposite, because I've been out to eat, you know, with my wife and my 2 kids, and I'm just like, dude, I wanna chill, and I give them, you know, let them watch YouTube Kids on my phone. You know, that's kind of the image I got. You know, just to keep them peaceful while me and my wife get to finish our meal and just get to talk or whatever. Repairing, just kind of like if you're challenging the text, okay? If you felt confused by something the author's saying, maybe they're describing something that you don't relate to. One word I need to look up, something that if you see some vocabulary that you don't recognize, I don't understand, blank, you know, or first I thought this, then realized that. Okay, use some repairing things. Synthesizing, kind of similar to summarizing with the main idea, the theme of the text. What's the message or lesson that the author's trying to teach you? And then evaluating, another way to kind of challenge the text. There might be something that you disagree with. You know, I think the author definitely, for me, says some things about manners and how they should be. And I disagreed with that just because, you know, I always argue that I think times are just changing. And I think the best we can do is just kind of change with the times, or else we're going to be driving ourselves crazy. So this sheet, you guys have it on your resources. Nothing you need to write on this. This is just examples of the different types of annotations and then how you can start your sentences. You know, a lot of these you start it and then you just fill in the blank with whatever you want to say. Just going back to that PowerPoint here. Again, this is what yours will look like. So I underline this. They're talking about phone related injuries. Okay. They say, of course, most rudeness does not end up in a trip to the hospital. They're talking about some extreme case where people, like, I'm sure you've seen the video where like the dude's not like texting or scrolling through his phone. He walks into a fountain at the mall. So he's not paying attention. It said, but tremendous number of phone related injuries is powerful evidence. Here's what I underline, because this is what stuck out to me. What can happen when we fail to be considerate of others. That's page 26, paragraph 1. The annotation type is connecting because I'm making a personal connection to this. I say this makes me think of how my wife gets lost when she gets on social media. I didn't just say it makes me think about my wife. And what I mean by that is sometimes she'll get to scrolling on her phone and I'll call her name. I'll say Jackie, and I'll call her name again because she's just so zoned out, and it's frustrating to me. And I do think, straight up, I told her this, I think it's inconsiderate. I get on my phone too, but I always keep an ear out to the outside world. And I think technology does play a big part in that. Whether you think it's right or wrong, or maybe it's just me sounding old. But that's a personal connection that I made as I read the text. You might read that same paragraph and have a question about it, or you might infer something. You might summarize something from it. The biggest thing about annotations is that there's not one right answer that I'm looking for. All I want to see is that you're able to write down and kind of just put into words your understanding of the text. And that's different for everybody because we all have different backgrounds, different personal experiences. Couple more of these. I say we send text instead of handwritten letters. We say no problem instead of you're welcome. And I said inferring, which is sort of like predicting. Page 26, that's paragraph 4, even though there's number 2 there. This is my second annotation. And I say, I predict that people's expectations of manners on phones will change as the years go by. And what I think is that, people's ideas of, what they consider polite and what they don't is going to change as time goes on. I think that just like everything else, we just need to change with the times. And then jumping to my third one, same page 26, paragraph 8. The fact is most people are not deliberately uncivil. They're just oblivious, kind of mean that you don't know what's going on. The girl at the mall doesn't realize her earbuds are emitting an ear-splitting whine when she's just grooving to Zendaya. Okay, so I had a question that, and if I was sitting down with the author, I would ask him why he seemed to dislike Zendaya because, he describes her music as an ear-splitting whine. I think he chose those words carefully. Ask him why he did that. Let's see. Last one, number 4. Page 26, paragraph 10. Studies show that teens with good manners are more likely to be successful. Okay, they get higher grades and are more impressive in job interviews and are more likely to get the job that they want. I gave that example of someone walking in my classroom and greeting me. I like that as a teacher, as an adult. Same thing with the kids that I coach. So with that, I said visualizing. And what I pictured in my head is someone in a job interview saying things like ain't, like I ain't going to be late, whatever, and not getting the job because of how they come off by their speech. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if you say a word. I say that word. I say it when I'm at home. I say it when I'm around my friends and family. I don't say it at work. And I think that's an important thing. It's a skill that you learn as you grow up. It's not wrong to talk certain ways around certain people, but the skill is learning who to talk to and how to talk to those people in certain situations. Just images like that kind of pop in my head. This kind of philosophies and things like that I have. So you'll get a table like that, and that's what I want you to fill out, and you're going to fill it out just like it looks here. Let me show you guys the actual one that you'll fill out, and it'll hopefully make a little bit more sense. I'm going back to learning plan. Here's the articles that you guys can read through, and then the annotation template. Okay, and if this is, I'm gonna have to fix that because that says private access only. But let me go to our page. Okay, and if you're looking for this stuff, reading materials and paratext annotations, that's what we're on. And then annotation resource template. So this sheet, since it didn't work when I clicked that link, I might just send this out to you guys just in case, okay? That slide that I showed you, I just copy and pasted that at the top of this. So it's like something that you can go back and reference just to kind of see what it looks like. When recording annotations for the text, please fill out this form. You can type on this sheet, if you want to save it to your computer. you could write this out. You can just make your columns on loose leaf paper and write them out that way. And that says, please refer to the image below for some guidance. Remember, you need 12 annotations total, and that's for both texts. Remember, one text is only like a page. So when you think about for today, Wednesday, what assignment do you have to do? This is it. Okay, your 12 annotations. And again, you're going to fill your table out just like this. The one below has it. So page number, paragraph, the H got cut off, paragraph number, the annotation type. So when we saw the different types on that resource, connecting, inferring, questioning, visualizing, whatever, just put that there. And then you got the really big box to actually type or write your annotation. As far as like what types of annotations use, there's 8 types of annotations. I'd like you to use at least 6. So you might use the same 6, just 2 times each. You might do 1 of each type and then do 6 visualizing. I wouldn't like to see that. I'd like to see you use a variety of them, but I want to see you use different ones, okay? And you're just going to fill those out on these sheets, and then this is what you're going to submit to me, okay? So this will be like your assignment. And then for Thursday, once you've read those texts, once you kind of covered all that stuff, your annotations are submitted, then you're going to go to, let me just go back because I think they're in this folder. Yeah, so the paired text questions. Then you're just going to answer these. And again, this is for Thursday. It's all on the learning plan. And with these, I don't expect you guys to print these out, you know, and write them, scan them, or anything like that. I think the easiest way, if you're on a Word document or on Google Docs, just there's 1, 2, 3, 8 questions here, and then there's 4 questions there. So, you know, use number 1 through 8 and then 1 through 4 and just type in or write in whatever your answers are. It'll be really easy for me to check them that way. So just thinking about the rest of this week, today, get your annotations done and then submit those to me on that form. Tomorrow, Thursday, answer the questions for the text. And then Friday, you guys got a quick write to do. Same directions as we've had. They're on that 100 creative writing process for middle school. I linked it in the plan. Friday from 9 to 10, I'll have office hours. I was able to free up some time in my day. So if it's Friday and maybe you're confused about the annotations or something, let me know or jump in there. And then if you want to, I get on a Zoom call, Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, I probably got some time. Just communicate with me and let me know. I don't want you guys to be behind. Other than that, after this week, I just want to make sure you guys are submitting everything in Schoology. Everything in the plan should say what to submit and when to do. I know there's some confusion about the drafts and outlines, but check Schoology, and if there's an assignment for that task, then go ahead and submit it. If you see all about me draft and you're like, oh, I haven't submitted that, just do it. Make sure you do it, because I did have people sitting on some zeros and things like that just because there's some confusion about that. I've been this week and in the beginning, I'm trying to be a little lenient with people turning stuff in late, but that will stop once we kind of get into our routine a little bit. But other than that, I'll see you guys Friday if you want to come into those office hours. And then if you have questions between then and now, just let me know. See you guys later.